Hey everybody, Philippe Lang here with Fontana Ovens and Grills for our official first live video. Today we're going to talk about these little ovens that are behind me. It is a brand new unit called the Maestro 60. It's a really exciting product. As we wait on people to kind of sign in, I just wanted to give, once again, a little background, right? Fontana has been around for a really long time. They started as a family business in the 40s. They started making the first ovens, their first ovens in the 70s. So they've been doing this a long time. There's a lot of other brands that are out there that say they have 30 years experience, 40 years experience. Almost all of them have experience with maybe making stones. Fontana has literally been making the ovens. They are metal workers that bend, weld, assemble, invest in, and invent new methodologies of using these ovens. So they truly are the pioneers when it comes to these. Don't be duped by all the other copies that are out there. But I say all that, let's talk today about what this little oven is behind me. So this is the Maestro 60. These are two prototype ovens that were sent to us a couple months ago. We've been putting them through the ringer, cooking all kinds of different meals, whether it's breads and pastries, chicken or fajitas. I've done biscuits and gravy, of course, an incredible amount of pizzas. So all that being said, we've put them through the ringer, and I can tell you these things are fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. If you're looking for a less expensive version of one of our Forno Toscano lines, an entry level, if you will, version that can perform in an incredible way with all these different methodologies of cooking, the Maestro 60 is really the way to go. So when you're looking at it, you can say, wow, that's a really cool design. As a matter of fact, it did win the, I think it's called the Red Production Award in Europe for design. It has an artistic design award because it is so cool looking, innovative looking. But it's the inside that really makes these ovens shine. It's not the exterior. Anybody can put cool clothing on a unit, but these things have the same quality that Fontana holds near and dear to their heart with the production of all of their products. So, when you look at the interior of these ovens, they're solid welded stainless. So instead of 441, this one uses 430 stainless. It is 1.5 mil thick for the most part, but it continues to have a heat shield, these Fontana proprietary heat shields that guarantee the longevity of your dome. This one has a stainless insert that's 3 mil thick, and it's using, if I haven't already mentioned it, 430 stainless steel. You want to make sure that you're not using an oven that has 304. 304 has way too high of a chromium content. It needs to have the proper mixture of ferric content with chromium content. It needs to be able to withstand incredibly high heats. Now, talking about heat, I started this oven approximately 25 to 30 minutes ago. This oven is now well up to the 900 degree range. It is insulated, right, with a ceramic insulation that goes across the top, the front, the back, and underneath. In fact, any spot that it may get much hotter, for instance, the exit of the chimney where all of that connects, it even has a double layer of insulation. So when you're cooking at 900 degrees, the exterior, yes, gets warm, but it's still gonna be safe. So as a matter of fact, I just wanna show you guys, I have an infrared thermometer here, right? Infrared thermometer, I don't know if you can see or not, does it focus in on me, right? So we're gonna come and check. Interior stone temp currently is at 877 degrees. Do we see that? 877, right under, oh, there we go, right around 900 degrees, right? So as we close this door, we're gonna check the external temperature. So at the back of the unit is really where it is hottest. So let's shine it right above the burner. 178. That is directly above where the flame is actually hitting. So it's under 200 degrees. When you compare that to a grill that you're grilling in, you would never, ever touch the dome of your grill, right? There's a lot of other inexpensive pizza ovens that are out there that when it gets up to maybe 700 degrees, the top is already at 400. So this is something that you can touch. You're not going to burn yourself, right? It's warm, so I wouldn't recommend laying your face on it, but that's gonna be any of these units, and it's cooking at 900, actually over 900 degrees in some areas. So what I'm gonna do as we're talking, right, I'm gonna turn the knob down. Let's look inside of the oven. I'm gonna show you what this burner looks like. So our burner is at the rear of the unit. This burner is 29,000 BTUs for propane. It's incredibly simple. The knob that controls the valve also is the igniter button. So you literally press the igniter button, it generates a spark. It's as easy as turning on the fuel source, the 20-pound tank, pressing in the button at maximum, and the flame turns right on. But you can control to the smallest amount of flame to the largest amount of flame. This thing will get up to 900 degrees and right at 30 minutes. It's incredibly efficient. So I like cooking my pizzas at a stone temp of about 7 to 750. So I'm gonna turn my flame down as we continue talking, and later on, I'm going to show you what that actually looks like, right? How quickly a pizza cooks. So the stones that we're using are essentially the same typology of stone that we use in our other ovens, right? It is an amalgam of sand, ceramic, and acrylic. These are food grade certified stones. Now these stones are slightly thinner. They're about 2 centimeters as opposed to 3 centimeters compared to our normal Forno Toscano line. And that helps with a weight and heat up time. So the thinner it is, right, the faster it'll heat up and the lighter the unit actually becomes. The Maestro 60, for instance, and I'm looking right here, it's right at 60 kilos, right? So you're looking at about 130 pounds, give or take, 60 times 2.2. But for a tabletop unit that has this girth, this solidity, it is one of Fontana's pizza ovens, right? This isn't just a sheet metal piece that's put together. That's amazing. And you can take this with you. It's light enough where I would recommend 2 people, but 2 people just because of the bulkiness of it, but 2 people can easily pick this up, throw it in the back of your SUV, put it in the back of your pickup truck. This is the ultimate tailgating accessory, right? So you're getting something that has the quality of our permanent units in a portable unit itself. So before I continue on, I know people are watching. Do we have some questions? My buddy Pete here, excuse his accent, he's not from Australia, he is from England. Pete, do we have any questions that I can answer?
Joe Snowbear has asked if you can add wood to give it that smoky wood fire flavor in your food.
All right, so that's a question that we get all the time, right? Everybody wants to know, your gas oven, it's not gonna taste the same, right? How can I add smoke to my oven to be able to give it that flavor? I will tell you, so for anybody that has spoken to me before, I've been in sales for a long time, and I've been doing this since I was 12. So I have a nuclear physics degree that I'm obviously using in this position, right? I think it's fascinating. So when you talk about physics and you talk logic, this is the principle. So when you have an oven that is, let's call it at 700, 750 degrees, right? When you have an oven that's at those temperatures and you have pizza or dough that has dry materials that come into contact with that surface, those immediately caramelize and char. What does that do? It produces a smoky, oaky, toasted flavor, right? Most people associate that with a smoky or wood-fired pizza. But why is smoke not interacting with your pizza? Okay, so once again, let's think logically and with physics, right? If you have a fire and it's producing smoke, that smoke has to be drawn out in order for you to have oxygen to have a flame, right? We all think back to elementary school. You have the candle, you put it under a cup. Once the oxygen burns out, there's no more flame anymore, right? So the same thing goes, if you're filling a chamber with smoke, there's no room for oxygen. It has to be drawn out. So with our wood-fired units, as the smoke is producing, it's drawing out through the chimney, drawing oxygen through the perforations in your door, which is pulling in oxygen, right? So first of all, you're never going to fill the chamber with smoke. Secondly, when you're cooking at, let's call it again, 7 to 750, your pizzas are cooking in 2 to 2.5 minutes, right? That's not enough time for smoke to permeate anything. So once again, logically, we break it down. You can't fill the chamber. It's not going to go all the way down to the bottom of your pizza oven and still maintain a flame. It's cooking so fast that that smoke has no chance of permeating the food. So really and truly and honestly, because I own both units at my house, if I put two pizzas in front of you, right? One that was cooked on gas, one that was cooked on wood, you 100% would not be able to tell the difference. And that's the physics answer, or the engineering or technical answer to, is there a difference? No, right? So the only thing that you would be doing by adding wood or adding some sort of other combustion to an oven like this is taking up space. So the fear is with any gas unit that somebody's gonna put logs, they're gonna put wood, they're gonna put ashes that will clog a burner. If you clog a burner with those things, then the gas has no way of entering into the unit and could cause a gas backup. That's why these units are just certified for gas use. Our current gas units are only certified for gas, merely for your protection. Now, if you're hell-bent on having the smoke in the chamber, I would recommend they have stainless trays, right? They have a little lid on them. You can buy one of those and put some wood chips, soak them beforehand because you don't want them to catch fire. So you soak your wood chips, you put them in the tray, you cover it up, and you can put it in the front of the unit. If anything, it's adding aroma and smell to the air. And there's a correlation between your olfactory sense and your taste buds. So maybe what you are smelling, you're also tasting. That being said, in my personal experience and in my professional opinion, it makes no difference. Hopefully that makes sense. Pete, you got any other questions?
Does it come with a stand, or is that sold separately?
So the oven itself is made as a portable and easily transferable and transportable unit. So no, it doesn't come with a stand, right? The oven itself comes pre-assembled in a box, just like this, right? The chimney cap, those come underneath or inside of the unit, the door as well. You literally open up the box, take it out, slide those male-female fittings in place, hook up your propane tank, and you're ready to go. We're showing these units on our Pizza Desk Nano or Pizza Desk Mini. It's a smaller version of our larger Pizza Desk. So what this allows you to do is it allows it to be portable, right? It moves around really easily. You can also use these mini Pizza Desks or Pizza Desk Nanos as a prep surface. So they can be purchased as either or, right? But you don't need a cart. You can put it on any non-combustible countertop as it sits because it has bolts that screw into the corners that have heat-resistant rubber heads. It gives it at least about 1/4 of an inch of airspace because you never want it sitting in water. However, the new units, the units that are coming in, have some variability to the design, right? So one of those things is the feet. The new units coming in all come with raised feet as an accessory. If you decide you want to put it on a teak table or a plastic table, which this is heavy enough, I don't know if I put it on a plastic table, but that will separate it far enough from your combustible countertop so that you can place it right on top. It comes as both. It will come pre-installed with the very flush feet and bolts, which allow you to put it on a non-combustible countertop. And alternatively, if you decide to put it on your teak table or whatever else, you can literally unscrew them by hand, screw in the raised feet underneath, which will raise it up by about 4 inches, and then you can place that on your combustible countertop. So hopefully that answers that question. Anything else?
Does it come in natural gas?
So as it sits right now, these units are only propane. So it arrives ready for you to literally hook up to a 20-pound tank. Once again, that's because of the portability of the unit. The whole idea is anybody can put this up in their backyard, on their balcony, wherever it might be, in the bed of their pickup truck or on a trailer and take it with them simply by carrying a 20-pound tank. Now, typically our 36,000 BTU burners of our larger unit will last about, a 20-pound tank will last about 20 hours, right? So that's the efficiency of the burn. We're using a lower BTU burner, which should make it even more efficient, right? So as you're looking at this, just assume on average a 20-pound tank of active continuous use will last about 15 to 25 hours, give or take, right? Because there's variability of exterior temperature, altitude, and oxygen concentration that's in the air for efficient combustion, all of that stuff. So that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Any other questions right now?
Just quick, one more. What clearance does it need?
That's a great question. So this was certified using our normal 1-inch to combustibles guideline. So it was pushed to its maximum limits, only needing 1 inch. Now, that goes, you take that for what it's worth, right? My personal recommendation is to give it 2 inches, right? It does nothing adding the additional inch, but as you saw, at maximum temperature, it's not exceeding 200 degrees. So anything that's non-combustible at the rear, even if you were to put it up against some shrubs, you don't run the risk because it's certified to only need 1 inch of airspace. But better safe than sorry. I always say, give it a little extra. 2 inches is still essentially nothing. But that's how well insulated they are. And once again, it speaks to the quality of the product. Now, all right, I'm going to go through some other bullet points, right, that I have. So when you're cooking with gas, people ask, why gas versus wood? Wood allows you to have the experience, right? The starting the fire, but you have to source. You have to split, you have to start, you have to maintain a fire, and then you deal with the ashes that go along with it. For some people, that's too much of a headache, right? And I don't want to carry around big boxes of wood if I'm tailgating with my buddies, right? A 20-pound tank's easy. So how easy is it to use? How easy is it to control? It truly is simply a singular knob. We can't make it simpler. It has the starting position, the off position, high and low. Anywhere between that high and low will vary the size of the flame. Now, when you are using it in your specific application, a lot of people won't talk about this, right? But I have customers that are in Denver. I have customers that are in the Bayou, right? Oxygen concentration at varying altitudes changes drastically. Also, when you have much colder climates, pressure can vary based on that 20-pound tank, even in your liquid propane. So what you need to do is you need to test it out within the parameters that you're planning on using it in that specific environment, if that makes sense. So if you're in Denver and you decide you want to use it in the summer, then you put it to max, you let it do its thing for 30 minutes, and then you dial back, right? You can dial it back to maybe 50%. Wait 15 minutes, walk away, come back, check the temperature again, see where it lands. So that way you know that within that environment, after I put it to my max for however long it is, I can turn it to this spot. You can hit it with a Sharpie, do whatever you want to, remember where it is, and it'll maintain that temperature. But we've done some crazy testing at really low temperatures in baking gluten-free focaccia bread, doing biscuits, literally biscuits from scratch. I've made gravy with sausage, gravy from scratch, right in the oven. All of this is on our website. We show you, I'm literally proving these things and saying, this is what, when I did those biscuits, that was my first time ever making them in this oven. That's how simple it was, right? You have the theory of how it works, you put it into practice, you figure it out, and it's super easy. Very, very easy. A lot of people can, if you are into cooking and you like experimenting, this is fantastic. But anything that you would cook in your normal convection oven at home, you can cook in one of these. It just requires a little bit more variability, knowing that the heat source is much more intense and it's closer in a unit like this versus your coils that are either above or below, right? Does that make sense? Awesome. Another question?
Why should we choose the Maestro over the Uni or the Gosling?
That's a really good question. So I've purchased the other two. And I've done a side-by-side comparison of all three. We bought an Uni, which one was it called? It's over the K. It's a 16, right? The gas version, I bought the additional gas burner. It cost $1,000, right? As you were putting it together, which took two of us and took about 20 minutes with all the different screws and IKEA-style tools that it comes with to be able to put it together. If you look on the inside, everything is literally riveted together. So if you ever look inside of an Uni and you have the stones out of the way, it's literally a sheet metal that is two pieces that are riveted together. You place the stones directly on a rivet, and you assume that this is enough structural integrity to be able to withstand fluctuations in temperature in excess of 800 degrees. These things don't logically make sense. It'll hold up for a bit, right? If you ever picked one up, tried to move it around, you can feel everything shifting. That's a telltale sign, right? That there's not as much structural integrity there. If you were to pick one of these up versus an uni, it is apples and oranges. Now, an uni is a great little starter point, right? If you want to get your feet wet at a low cost, get one of the most inexpensive unis. That's fine, right? If you're scared to make that initial investment, that's fine. But you're gonna see, right, that as you use it, you realize, man, it works, but it is not nearly as solid as it should or could be. So that's one. There's like no insulation. When I was talking about one that at temperature, it was 400 plus degrees on the exterior, that's an uni, right? In my personal tests, I lit all 3 ovens side by side. The uni turned off like 6 times. I had to keep coming back and turning it back on. This is a brand new $1,000 uni with the burner. And maybe it was user error, but we set them up in the same way, right? So we turned it on, it lit, it was great. But when you're looking at external temperature, 200 degrees, over 400 degrees. That's a safety issue too, right? So it depends on what you're looking for. I would say it's in a different camp. Now, Gosney makes a great product. It's a really cool looking product. That dome, right? It works well, has a nice big flame. What you may not know is the accessories, pretty much everything that you need for the oven, you have to purchase on top of it, right? So I bought it full retail. You have to buy a door. Ours comes with a door. You have to buy all the little components. Ours comes with all the components you would need for the oven. Ours can stay outside in the rain. It says in their manual at the very beginning, you cannot get the dome wet. And then if you read it, it says the insulation that it's made of is water soluble. Let that be what it is, but this is what they tell you in their manuals and in their warnings prior to using it. Do your own research. That being said, it's a great little oven. It seems like it works really well. It's still not insulated in the same ways. The nice thing about our ovens is if you ever crack a stone, you literally take it out and you can replace it with a new one. Theirs are about 1 inch thick, the Gosney's. I could not for the life of me figure out how to get it out. It's wedged, it's underneath the dome itself that is screwed and riveted from, I think you have to take the entire oven apart to remove the stones. So that may be a big deal to you, it may not be. Those are just my honest feedback. But of the 3, the Gosney and ours cook very similarly. You just have to determine what functions, what longevity, and what efficiency you might want. Gosney on the exterior got to about 300 degrees, 350. So it still doesn't have the same amount of insulation. On the sides it was great, on the top it was not. That's just something that to look at. I think it's slightly heavier as well. Hopefully that answers your question. All of these ovens are functional, right? They all work. But when you're comparing them, there's a significant difference in quality and longevity and workmanship that goes behind them. And I'm happy to answer any more detailed questions if you have those. You can always email us, and I'd be happy to go through those.
How much does the Maestro weigh?
So the Maestro weighs 60 kilos, right? The Maestro 60 weighs 60 kilos. It's easy to remember. And a kilo is 2.2 pounds. So you're looking at approximately 130, 135 pounds. It's under 150, which makes it incredibly easy to pick up and move for as solid of a unit as it is.
Jeremy asked if you can sear steaks and cook bacon.
Oh man, absolutely you can sear steaks. I like using carbon steel and cast iron, right? Carbon steel is nice because it's about 1/3 of the weight of cast iron. It makes it really easy. We also sell cast aluminum pans, which I love using because they're even lighter weight than carbon steel. You also never have to worry about them rusting, right? So it's incredibly lightweight. It's 5 mil thick. It heats up. It has the same conductivity coefficient as both of those, and you never have to worry about rust. You don't have to worry about building a patina and not cleaning it with a sponge or a Brillo pad or soap or whatever else. You just clean it like you would normally a pan. So what I've done, and I have recipes on the website showing this, I preheat my pan in the oven. The reason I do that is I want to generate a searing effect, right, for the beef. It depends on what you're searing, what kind of steak you're making. I would recommend either you're going to sous vide it or you make sure that it is room temp, right? And you don't want to over marinate. You want to keep it simple. You add a little bit of rock salt. If you added a little bit of oil or lipid, you could. I would probably use something like a lard, right? A beef lard. Various olive oils have different smoke points and flash points. So you want to make sure that you're finding one that isn't going to smoke like crazy or burn at very high temperatures. But I like high temp searing. And so what you do by preheating your pan is you pull it out, you throw the beef right on it, it's generating a sear, you slide it back in, and the flame is also hammering it from the top to generate a secondary sear. It's going to be a different crust that you generate, so you have to pull it out and flip it eventually, but absolutely you can. Now, when you're dealing with bacon, bacon has an ungodly amount of fat, right? That fat kind of pops all over the place. So you want to make sure that when you are baking bacon or cooking bacon, you do it in a way that is going to allow your oven to remain clean. Any lipid, any fat that's going to land on a stone, right? Whatever type of stone that is, if it's a masonry, it's porous. So lipids or fats that fall on those get absorbed, they cook, and they'll end up staining your stone. It does nothing to the structural integrity of your stone, but it'll stain it, so you might have some splotches. So if I'm going to be doing bacon, I usually do it at a much lower temperature, and one thing that you could do is you preheat the oven, get it to the temperature that you want, turn the gas off, and allow the residual heat to do that baking, right? You don't need the broil function of the flame hitting on top. So that's what I would recommend. Can you do those things? Absolutely. I'm in the process of making my own pancetta, right? Because I want to use the pancetta, which is basically Italian bacon, for various sauces. Because I love pancetta more than hickory smoked bacon. But I'm planning on cooking it in the oven, no problem at all, especially for most of these sauces that I make.
What's the life expectancy of these ovens?
That's a great question, right? So our ovens have a 2-year warranty against manufacturer defect, our large ovens, and they have a 4-year warranty on the dome. I've been selling our single-chambered ovens now for 18 years. I've never had a single dome warranty claim, which is really the big one, right? These ovens carry the exact same warranty. I spoke with the factory this morning, and I was asking, right? So our Maestro 60, which is the smallest compared to our regular line, right? This is our most cost-effective oven to date. This Maestro 60 will have the same warranty that our Forno Toscano line does. That's how much we believe in the product. So we're going to stand behind it. If there's a manufacturer defect, you let us know. We take care of it. You have 2 years, but if you've ever dealt with us before, you know either I'm answering the phones, Pete, the one that's asking the questions, is answering the phones. We all are involved in the business. You're talking with a real person that actually touches these things, helps pack them, helps ship them, the whole 9 yards. We all have them at our house. So you're essentially speaking with an expert. And I'm a mere phone call away. If you ever try to stump them with a question that they don't know, then you can try to stump me as well. But that's essentially it. Was there another question?
How many pizzas can you cook at the same time?
You know what? That depends on your ability, right? So the interior of the oven, if you look at the interior, it is 18 3/4 deep and 24 inches wide. Now, the burner itself is going to take up approximately 3 inches of your depth. So in all reality, you're left with 15 3/4, or let's call it 15.5 inches by 24. So you could do 2 12-inch pizzas simultaneously, no problem whatsoever. That being said, I recommend cooking one at a time. So the reason you do that is pizzas cook really fast, 2 to 2.5 minutes. When you cook a pizza, it's a transfer of thermal energy. You have thermal energy of the stones and radiant thermal energy from the flame itself. Those two combine to generate a baking of that pizza. Now, when you remove a pizza, you can shine an infrared thermometer on the stone and see that there's been a decrease in temperature. That decrease in temperature may vary, right? But you want that to rebound up. It takes no time at all, but my recommendation is to cook one pizza at a time, because that means every 2 to 2.5 minutes, you can be pulling out a fresh pizza. And a 12 to 13-inch pizza is pretty standard. So that's my recommendation, but I've cooked 4 8-inch pizzas simultaneously in 2 ovens at the same time. I've cooked 165 pizzas in 2 hours. I don't recommend that to anybody, but it speaks to the quality and the potential output of the ovens, if that answers your question.
What are we here introducing today?
So today, once again, if nobody has heard this yet, if you haven't been in from the beginning, we are introducing the Maestro 60. So the Maestro 60 is made by Fontana. Once again, it is our most cost-effective oven to date, right? And this oven is going to retail for $24.99. $24.99 retail. Now, if you place the order between now and the end of the month, we are giving you a one-time early bird buy-in, right? You can buy the oven for $19.99. This allows you to pre-order it. We have containers on the way. They are going to be here. I can get it pretty much anywhere in the United States within 5 business days. That's, for me, coast to coast, right? But if you pre-order now, this early bird special, you do get the first units, official units on the market at the incredible price of $19.99. Without sounding like QVC, right? But that way you know the difference. You're saving $400 by pre-purchasing it. So if that's not incentive enough, I don't know what is. We're gonna be showing you how a pizza is made. If there's any other questions, I'm gonna check my stone temperature real quick. And we turned it down because I wanted to, so my stone temp is right at 750 degrees. So for me, let's show again. The stone temp is right around 700 to 750 degrees, which for me is the perfect temperature to cook a 2 to 2.5 minute pizza. So while I'm preparing a pizza, if anybody has any questions, my ADD kicks in and I can multitask, so I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. Are there any more that you can think of?
Are those tarts available for purchase? Okay.
The carts are available for purchase. We have them in the United States. I think they are already live on the website. I'll need to check and see, but it is the Pizza Desk Mini or the Pizza Desk Nano, okay? So let's see if I can make a mess of these pizzas. So when you are making pizzas, right, you want to go simple. This is not something that you want to overly top. In the States, we have a tendency to over-top pizzas. We want to put lots and lots of toppings on them. The best way is to keep it simple, right? You want to make sure that what you are tasting is the individual ingredients. You don't need 5 pounds of toppings. You want to keep it nice and light and airy. And that way, it's doing a couple things. It lets you taste a pizza in its purest form, and it prevents too much weight or moisture from causing the pizza to take too long to bake, right? When you're cooking at high temperatures, it needs to bake fairly quickly, and I just ripped right through because I'm not paying attention. So, let me see if I can salvage this pizza. All right, we're gonna do something simple today. I wanna start off with just cheese. And anytime you make a pizza, right? I want Lance, come in and take a look at this, right? Sometimes you're gonna stretch it too fast. You're gonna get a perforation. How do you fix that, right? Because it's gonna happen. Inevitably, somebody's going to experience that. So you fold it over and pinch it down on itself. I've generated a seam. I've stitched it together fairly easily, right? So I'm trying to show how to hand stretch these. I'm not using a rolling pin. If you want to use a rolling pin, you can. It doesn't need to be tossed in the air. You don't need acrobatics. I need the cheese, which was not, it should be outside. We should be good to go. So as you are making a pizza, what you want to do, you want to take flour and do a light dusting, right? You need it to place down onto something that allows it to slide, right? And the reason we do that is you don't build the pizza on a peel. The peel is made to slide underneath. So pre-topped, right? And we're doing more of like a schiacciata right now. Pre-topped, you want to get the peel, press down. So you come in at an angle, you press down, and then slide forward. This allows the pizza to slide on and off the pizza fairly simply. You want to make sure that you have enough of that sediment down below to keep it from sticking, right? So let's keep stretching this just a little bit to make it a little bit bigger and make sure that our stitching job is efficient right? All right, here we go. And we're gonna throw on, we're just gonna do cheese right now. We're not gonna do a full margherita pizza. We don't need to do the sauce right now, but I'm gonna show, this is everybody's in the warehouse. This is one of our favorites. So all you need is good mozzarella, a little bit of olive oil, and a little bit of salt. That's all you need. So we'll keep it simple. Do a little bit of salt. And we're showing you in real time, right? So if we screw up, this is what happens. Sometimes you perforate a pizza. Sometimes you flip a pizza. It's all a part of the process, right? So here we go. We're gonna throw this in. If you guys wanna start timing, you can start timing, but I want this to be efficient. So just like if you have your heat on at the house, right? If you keep the front door closed, it makes the system much more efficient. So I'm gonna close my door because I want it to maintain that internal temperature as efficiently as possible. Now, in a second, I'm gonna pull out the turning peel. And what's a turning peel for? Well, when you have a high temp heat source, it's going to cook on one side faster than another, which is why we have these turning peels. It's a much smaller headed peel. This allows you to come in and rotate the pizza on its end, to rotate it, to spin it. You don't have to pull it out and move it with your fingers. You don't need to burn yourself by doing that. So once again, let's close the door. I might add a little bit more heat because I'm about a 50% heat. And I want to make sure it's kind of cooler today. So I want to make sure you can see that the sides, the topping hasn't started caramelizing or melting as much as I wanted it to. So what do? You add a little bit more flame, right? I'm at that, once again, about 50%. Lance, if you look, you can see the dot. The dot shows you where the knob needs to be. So I'm about 50%. Let's keep going. Let this thing go. And then we'll do another pizza. So as you can see, I rolled this out by hand. I hand stretched it. This dough has a little bit higher yeast content, so it generates more of bubbles, right? So there's about 1 million different recipes for pizza dough. This one we wanted to show you because we have lots of customers that end up buying it directly from the store. I wanted to show you what a store-bought dough will do, right? I bought the dough. I split it in two, and this has been outside in the sun in our stackable dough trays, re-rising, right? We wanted to make sure that it was rising properly. But to make your own dough is incredibly simple, right? You want to make sure that you have very simple all-purpose flour. You can use Caputo, Zero Zero, whatever you might want, or you can use active dry yeast, water, and salt. That's really all you need. You don't need to have any sort of natural biga, bacterial yeast from your hands. There's all kinds of different methodologies for baking, but you want to, once again, keep it simple. So as we're rotating this, you can see it's already starting to caramelize. I let it go a little bit too cool, so I'm going to raise it up to the top just to give that top a little bit of char, a little bit more caramelization, and that's where all the heat is, right? So let's see. Get that finished. And the next pizza we'll pull out and cook at a little bit of a higher temperature. So you can see this is, once again, store-bought. The cheese is a high moisture mozzarella. And let's cut it real quick and see what this crust looks like on the interior. All right, so we're looking at these nice big cornicione bubbles that we have inside, right? And I think let me catch that. We can cut a nice slice and you'll be able to see a nice pizza, right? So it has some nice leoparding underneath, right? We want to make sure it stayed in a little bit longer than I wanted it to, and that's my fault because I turned the flame down more than I needed to. I wanted to maintain that temperature. But this is, once again, all part of the process, right? This is actually cold in South Carolina, which it's never cold. It was about 80 degrees last week. It was 40 degrees this morning. Those are things that fluctuate in temperature. You get to know those things. So that being said, this is how it works. We'll have a little bit to try. I can make another pizza, but I think we're getting close to being out of time. Is that correct? We can always show it next time. What are we looking at? Pete? All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make one more pizza. All right, so once again, let's try this one more time. This time, I want to do something a little bit different. So I'm gonna do my light dusting. Pull this out. This time, I'm gonna try to go much thinner. And everybody asks about Neapolitan style versus Tuscan style, right? A Neapolitan style typically has a much thicker cornicione, which is a crust. Typically, the dough is a much higher hydration, right? So right now, the fancy thing to do in Naples is to have like 70% hydrated dough or 80% hydrated dough, which is, I mean, that's dealing with soup. It's very difficult to be able to actually work with that. But as a result, you're cooking at high temps, right? 800 to 900 degrees, which cooks in about 90 seconds. But if you have high moisture within a dough, and you have high temps where it's cooking really quickly, that moisture doesn't have time to be able to dissipate out, right? It doesn't have time to be able to evaporate from the dough itself. So it results in a much chewier, airier dough that you have to eat with a fork and a knife. So that's true Neapolitan style. It gets kind of crispy on the outside. Obviously, this depends on the moisture or hydration percentage that you use within your dough itself. But I grew up in Tuscany. I grew up in Firenze, which most people would say that's not known for pizza. What they do there is they use a much lower hydration. They use a 60, maybe 64% hydrated dough, which results in a much crispier, crunchier crust. It's much thinner. I prefer that. That's because that's where I grew up. It's like Chicago versus New York style, right? So it all depends on your own tastes. If you're cooking at a little bit of a lower hydrated dough, you typically cook at a lower temperature. And so let's see. I didn't use my rolling pin. I get made fun of a lot by my family because I like using a rolling pin because I like it nice and thin. I'm still trying to do this by hand to show you the traditional way of doing things. So once again, you go quickly, you do sauce, then you do cheese. Let's see if I can make this a little bit faster. Because you don't want this sitting too long. If you let it sit too long, then the moisture itself within the cheese, within the sauce, transfers down through the dough via gravity and osmosis and causes it to stick. So, we've done our little combination. We have our olive oil. I may do a little sprinkling of salt because I like that. It adds exactly what I like in pizza. Slide it underneath. Once again, you see how simple that is, right? You don't have to build it on top. Slide it right underneath. And then the perforations in our peels that Fontana sells, we sell these, allow that excess flour and cornmeal to fall off. You don't want to deposit too much of that in your oven because that's going to burn very quickly. So we'll continue talking about these things as we do videos down the road. If you guys have any requests on live video tutorials, I'm happy to hear them out, and I would love to be able to assist you guys in those ways. But I'm going to close the door one more time just to make sure that we have a nice, evenly heated environment. I could check, and I actually will. I'm going to see just really quickly. The oven is, stone temp is right on 675. I allowed it to get too cool by leaving the flame down low. So this will cook in a little bit longer than a 2 to 2.5 minutes, right? A 2-minute pizza will be around 700 degrees. And as you do pizza parties, as you use this, it's easy to get it up to temperature, right? 30 minutes. And then you see, as pizzas cook, they take anywhere, right now, 2.5 to 3 minutes. The higher temperature you go, the faster they cook. The more you have to rotate them and stay after them. But it can absolutely handle that style cooking. So you can see, this one's going faster already. We have nice blistering on the crust, on the cornicione. I'm gonna close the door again. You could run it with the door wide open. It's not nearly as efficient. I'm here in my warehouse. You probably hear beeping in the background. We have trucks coming. We are working tirelessly to make sure that your ovens are shipped as the orders come in. We usually can get the oven out within 2 business days. And like I said, I can ship it anywhere in the US within about 5 business days transit. That's how efficient we are. The ovens themselves come stacked on a pallet, cardboard boxes that are heavy duty where they can just be slid off, put right on a pallet. And then what we use is a heavy duty bag that gets shrunk onto the pallet. And we do that with a blowtorch. We heat shrink it down, staple it in place. It doesn't move anywhere. So if you ever order an oven, or when you order your oven from us, make sure that you look it over. As it comes in, look it over. Make sure that we are on the same page as you. If there's any damage when it arrives, please let us know. It comes fully insured. So you have 72 hours to file a claim, because that's what we have. So if you could, let us know as soon as possible if for whatever reason there's any damage. But we take care to package them in a safe way. Let's see how we're looking here. The cornicione is looking good. So the cheese is a little bit colder than it should be. As you make pizzas, you want to make sure that the cheese is kind of room temp, right? You typically would let it sit out, let it get room temp. This hasn't caramelized the same way because it's still kind of cold when we put it on the pizza. Once again, this is our first live stream, so that's our fault. But let's slice it up. Let's look and see what this cornicione looks like. It's got some good blistering, like I said. We tried not to over sauce it, but here we go. You can see the bubbles. We have them within the crust itself. Underneath, let me grab this. All right, so it's not flash steamed, it's not completely burnt. You want to look for leoparding, browning, a little blistering. That's what you want to go for. And you see, I cut a slice and it's retaining its form. That is based on the hydration of the dough itself. The more or the less water it has in it, the more it will be able to retain its form. And let's just hear this real quick. Right? You can hear the crunch, you can hear the crispness of the dough itself. So if you're looking for a crispy, crunchy crust, you want to cook a 700 to 750 degree pizza. You don't necessarily want a Neapolitan style pizza. So we're showed it. We'll continue to do demos showing how to do all of this. If you have questions, right, make sure you let us know. This is the Maestro 60. It's brand new. You're gonna love it. I can tell you this is, if you're looking for an entry-level unit, but this is a professional entry-level unit. There's nothing on the market that matches it on cost, on quality, and on efficiency. We stand behind the product because it's made by the Fontanas in the Fontana Fabrica, the factory, right? And so it has the same quality that all of our other products have, and we stand behind that. So if you guys have any other questions, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach out to us directly. Write this number down. It's on our website, but directly at 877-842-9822. They're going to write it out. We'll be able to show it to you. But go to the website. You can just Google Fontana Ovens or go to fontanaforniusa.com. And remember that right now, it is the one-time price this month of $19.99. Afterwards, it's $24.99. That's the MSRP, which is still amazing. So you want to make sure that you jump on this as soon as possible and save your $400, right? So the Maestro 60, hopefully it was a good intro. If you guys have any questions, let us know. If I need to do another live stream explaining other components, please let us know. Send us an email. You can email us directly via the Contact Us button, and I'd be happy to explain or answer any other questions that you might have. Thank you guys for signing in to Fontana's very first live event. I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Later.